It is the deadliest animal that has ever existed. Not the shark, not the lion, not the snake or the bear, or any of the predators that haunt our nightmares. The animal that has killed more human beings than any other in the entire history of our species is small enough to crush between two fingers, weighs almost nothing, and is probably within a few miles of you right now. The mosquito has killed more people than every war ever fought, combined. By some estimates, it has had a hand in the deaths of nearly half of all the human beings who have ever lived. Billions upon billions of people, felled not by the insect itself, but by the invisible cargo it carries in its bite. Malaria, yellow fever, dengue. It is not a predator in any way we usually understand the word. It is something stranger and far more dangerous, a flying needle that has been draining and infecting our species since before we were even human. And almost everything about where it came from, how it found us, and why it targets us at all turned out to be far stranger than anyone expected. Because when scientists finally read the DNA of the mosquito and trace the deep history of the one species that specializes in hunting humans, they uncovered a story of evolution, adaptation, and a sinister bond with humanity that goes back to the dawn of civilization itself. This is what the DNA actually shows. Let's begin. First, the scale of the thing, because it is almost impossible to believe. There are over 3,500 species of mosquito on Earth, and they are ancient beyond reckoning. Mosquitoes have been around for at least 100 million years. They shared the planet with the dinosaurs. They have survived every mass extinction since, every ice age, every upheaval the Earth has thrown at life. The mosquito is one of evolution's great survivors, a design so effective it has barely needed to change across geological time. But here's the first surprise. The vast majority of those 3,500 species have nothing to do with you. Most mosquitoes feed on nectar, on plant juices, on the blood of birds, frogs, reptiles, or other mammals. Many never bite a human in their entire lives. Of the thousands of species, only a few hundred bite humans at all, and of those, only a small handful are responsible for nearly all the death and disease the mosquito has inflicted on our species. And one species stands above all the rest. Its name is Aedes aegypti, and it is the one that carries yellow fever, dengue, Zika, and more. It is the most dangerous of them all to human beings in the modern world, not because it is the most venomous or the largest, but because of a single, chilling evolutionary choice it made somewhere in its past. Aedes aegypti specialized. It evolved to prefer human blood, specifically above all the other sources. It evolved to love us. And the DNA reveals exactly when, where, and why that terrible specialization happened. For most of its evolutionary history, Aedes aegypti was not a human hunter at all. Its ancestral form, which still exists today, lives in the forests of sub-Saharan Africa. This forest-dwelling ancestor is a generalist. It breeds in natural water sources, in tree holes and rock pools, and it feeds on whatever animals are available, the mammals of the African forest, not people in particular. For millions of years, this is what the mosquito was, an ordinary African forest insect, one of countless species drinking the blood of wild animals, of no special significance to humanity. Then, at some point, a subset of these mosquitoes changed. They evolved into a distinct form, a human specialist that abandoned the forest and the wild animals and bound its entire existence to us. This is the form that now lives in our cities across the entire tropical world, breeds in the water we store and the trash we leave, and feeds, by overwhelming preference, on human blood. The question that haunted scientists was, when did this happen, and what drove a wild forest insect to become a dedicated hunter of human beings? The genetics gave an answer that points directly back at us. By analyzing the genomes of mosquito populations across Africa, researchers found that the human specialist form of Aedes aegypti evolved its preference for human blood thousands of years ago, and the driving force appears to have been climate and, crucially, human civilization itself. The specialization is linked to the rise of dense human settlements and to the demands of a drying climate in the African Sahel. In a landscape where water became scarce for part of the year, the mosquitoes that learned to exploit one reliable, permanent source of water survived best. And that reliable source was us. Human settlements stored water, where people built villages and towns and kept water close. They created perfect, year-round mosquito nurseries that existed nowhere in the drying wild. So the mosquitoes that bred in human water and bit the humans conveniently gathered around it outsurvived the ones that stuck to the vanishing forest pools. We did not just attract the mosquito, we bred it. By building the first dense water-storing settlements, we created an environment that selected, generation after generation, for a mosquito that preferred human water and human blood. The deadliest animal in history was, in part, forged by the rise of human civilization. We made the very thing that would go on to kill billions of us. But to understand the true scale of the mosquito's death toll, you have to look at a different mosquito and a different killer riding inside it. Because while Aedes aegypti carries yellow fever and dengue, the single deadliest thing the mosquito has ever done to humanity has another name entirely: malaria. And malaria is not really a disease of the mosquito at all. It is the work of something else, something the mosquito merely carries. Malaria is caused by a parasite, a single-celled organism called Plasmodium, and its life cycle is one of the most sinister in all of biology. The parasite cannot spread from person to person on its own. It needs a vector, a living syringe, to move it from one human bloodstream to the next. And it found the perfect one in a different group of mosquitoes, the Anopheles mosquitoes. When an infected mosquito bites a person, it injects the parasite along with its saliva. The parasite travels to the liver, multiplies in secret, then bursts out into the bloodstream to invade and destroy red blood cells. And when another mosquito bites that infected person, it draws the parasite back up, completing the cycle, ready to deliver it to the next victim. What makes this so chilling is how deeply the parasite has woven itself into the mosquito. This is not a passenger the mosquito picked up by accident. Plasmodium and Anopheles have been locked together for an extraordinarily long stretch of evolutionary time, the parasite manipulating the insect to serve its own spread. Some research even suggests the parasite can alter the behavior of the mosquito that carries it, making an infected mosquito bite more often or feed more persistently, turning the insect into a more effective delivery system for the thing growing inside it. The mosquito is the weapon. The parasite is the hand that aims it. And the toll is almost beyond comprehension. Malaria is, by a wide margin, the deadliest of all the mosquito-borne diseases. And across human history, it has been a constant, grinding presence wherever the climate allowed mosquitoes to thrive. It shaped where humans could safely settle and where they could not. It left its fingerprints on our own DNA, the genetic blood disorders found in populations from Africa to the Mediterranean. Conditions like sickle cell persist precisely because carrying a single copy offered some protection against malaria. The disease was so deadly for so long that it reached into the human genome itself and changed us, leaving a defensive scar written into the blood of entire populations. That is how relentless the pressure was. The mosquito and its parasite did not just kill us in vast numbers, they altered the course of human evolution. And once that bond was formed, the mosquito followed us everywhere. This is the next piece of the story, and it transformed a regional African insect into a global killer. When Europeans began crossing the oceans, building ships and trade routes, and, most horrifically, the transatlantic slave trade, they carried the human specialist mosquito with them. Aedes aegypti bred in the water barrels stored aboard ships. The long ocean voyages were floating mosquito habitats, and when those ships reached the Americas, the mosquito stepped ashore into a brand new world full of human beings with no resistance to the diseases it carried. The consequences were catastrophic, and they shaped human history. Yellow fever and other mosquito-borne diseases carried into the Americas aboard ships killed colonists, soldiers, and indigenous peoples in staggering numbers. Entire military campaigns collapsed, not from battle, but from mosquito-borne disease. When France attempted to build the Panama Canal in the 19th century, the project was destroyed, not by engineering failure, but by mosquitoes. And tens of thousands of workers died of yellow fever and malaria, and the effort was abandoned. The canal was only completed decades later by the Americans, after they finally understood that to defeat the canal's terrain, they first had to defeat the mosquito. Wars, too, turned on the insect. Throughout history, more soldiers have often died of mosquito-borne disease than of enemy weapons, armies melting away from fever before they ever reached the battlefield. The DNA records this journey. The genetic signatures of mosquito populations around the world trace these movements, mapping how the human specialist form spread out of Africa and colonized the warm regions of the entire planet, always following human trade, human settlement, human water. Everywhere we went, we brought our most dangerous passenger with us. The mosquito's global conquest is a perfect shadow of our own, a dark mirror image of human expansion, written in the genome of an insect. But the deepest question is the one that feels most personal when you are lying awake at night, listening to that thin, high whine in the dark. Why does it choose you? Why does the mosquito hunt humans so relentlessly? And why does it seem to find some of us more than others? The DNA and the biology together reveal a hunting system of terrifying sophistication. The human specialist mosquito has evolved a finely tuned sensory apparatus dedicated to finding us specifically. It is drawn to the carbon dioxide we exhale, able to detect the plume of our breath from a remarkable distance. It homes in on our body heat, and, most strikingly, it has evolved a powerful attraction to the specific cocktail of chemicals that human skin produces, the particular blend of odors that distinguishes a human being from every other animal in the environment. Researchers studying the human specialist mosquito have found that it carries genetic adaptations in its odor-sensing machinery that make it especially tuned to human body odor. It has, in effect, a genetically encoded love of the way we smell. The forest ancestor does not have this same intense tuning. The human specialist evolved it as part of binding itself to us. This is why some people genuinely do get bitten more than others. Variations in the chemicals our skin produces, influenced by our own genetics and biology, make some humans simply smell more attractive to a creature that has spent thousands of years evolving to detect exactly that scent. And the final grim detail, it is only the females that bite. Male mosquitoes feed harmlessly on nectar their entire lives. The female needs blood for one reason, to produce eggs. Every bite is in service of reproduction. The whining insect drinking from your arm in the dark is a mother gathering the protein she needs to make the next generation, the next 1,000 hunters, each one carrying the same ancient, genetically encoded hunger for human blood. It is not malice. It is something colder than malice. It is a biological machine perfected over 100 million years and sharpened by our own civilization, doing the single thing it was built to do. Which raises the question we have only recently gained the power to ask. If the mosquito is the deadliest animal in history, if it is killed in numbers no war or disaster can match, should we simply destroy it? For the first time, the science has advanced to the point where we could genuinely try. And the answer is far less simple than it first appears. The new tool is genetic. Using gene editing technology, scientists have developed something called a gene drive, a way of forcing a chosen genetic trait to spread through a wild population, far faster than normal inheritance would allow. In ordinary reproduction, a gene has roughly a 50-50 chance of being passed to offspring. A gene drive rigs that lottery, ensuring the engineered trait is inherited by nearly all offspring, so that it races through a population in a handful of generations. Applied to mosquitoes, a gene drive could spread a trait that causes females to be born infertile, or skews the population so heavily toward males that it collapses. In laboratory cages, this has already been done. Engineered mosquito populations driven to extinction within a few generations. The technology to wipe a species off the earth deliberately now exists. And here the story turns into one of the most profound dilemmas modern science has ever faced. Because to eradicate the human specialist mosquito could save hundreds of thousands of lives every single year and spare countless more from devastating illness. The case for doing it is, in human terms, overwhelming. But a gene drive does not respect borders or second thoughts. Once released into the wild, it is designed to spread on its own, country to country, continent to continent, in a way that cannot easily be recalled. We would be making a permanent, irreversible decision on behalf of the entire planet and of every future generation. Deliberately driving a species to extinction has never been done. The mosquito would be the first. And there is the ecological question that no one can fully answer. The mosquito has existed for 100 million years, woven into ecosystems across the world. Its larvae feed fish. The adults are eaten by birds, bats, frogs, and dragonflies. Some plants depend on mosquitoes for pollination. Many scientists argue the few human hunting species are ecologically minor and could be removed with little consequence, that nothing important depends on the handful that prey on us. Others warn that we cannot be certain, that pulling a single thread from a web 100 million years old might unravel something we did not foresee. The deadliest animal in history may also be load-bearing in ways we don't yet understand. We have, for the first time, the power to erase it. What we do not have is certainty about what happens next. So pull it all together. And the real story of the mosquito is far stranger and far more disturbing than the simple pest we swat at on a summer evening. The mosquito is the deadliest animal in the history of the world, an ancient survivor that has outlasted the dinosaurs and every catastrophe since. But the one that hunts us was not always our enemy. It began as an ordinary African forest insect, feeding on wild animals, of no special danger to humanity. Then, thousands of years ago, as the climate dried and human beings built the first dense water-storing settlements, a form of it evolved that abandoned the wild and bound itself entirely to us, breeding in our water, hunting our blood, evolving a genetically encoded attraction to the very smell of human skin. It became the carrier of malaria, a parasite so deadly it carved defensive mutations into our own DNA. We created the conditions that bred our own deadliest predator, and then we carried it across the world on our ships, unleashing it on continent after continent, where it shaped the fate of empires, broke armies, halted the building of canals, and killed in numbers no war has ever matched. And now, for the first time, we hold the power to erase it from the earth and find ourselves unsure whether we should. What does this mean for the mosquito whining in the dark of your bedroom tonight? It means you are listening to one of the oldest and most successful hunters that has ever existed, an animal that has been drinking human blood and seeding human death since before recorded history, an animal that our own civilization helped to forge. That thin, high whine is the sound of 100 million years of evolution, sharpened to a fine point and aimed directly at you. The female searching for your skin in the dark is following a hunger written into her genes thousands of years ago, in the drying landscapes of ancient Africa, around the first villages our ancestors ever built. She finds you by your breath, your warmth, and the particular smell of being human, a scent her kind learned to love a very long time ago and has never forgotten. We tend to think of the mosquito as a nuisance, a small annoyance of warm evenings. It is nothing of the kind. It is the most dangerous animal that has ever shared the earth with us, a creature partly of our own making, and it has been with us and against us since the very beginning. And the next chapter of that ancient war may be the one in which we finally decide its fate and risk discovering the true cost of winning. If you found this story remarkable, consider subscribing. There are more origins to uncover, and the DNA is only beginning to tell us what it knows.